Hello. With this video I want to show you how you can convert a car from rFactor 1 to rFactor 2, but of course not the whole conversion process to get the best possible result, but that you at least can load it in the dev mode of rFactor 2 and also drive it on track. Yes, English is not my native language, so I maybe will pause often because I miss some words or something. I hope you have the patience to watch this video to the end. Okay, at first we of course need the rFactor 1 mod, and I will use the FormulaIS from Easy from the G version. That is this one here, FormulaIS. And I will copy the whole folder from rFactor 1, from the rFactor 1 installation, and then I open the modded dev folder in rFactor 2, and as you can see it has the same structure that the game data folder in rFactor 1 has, with the commentary, helmets, sounds and so on folders, so we can paste it into the vehicles folder of the rFactor 2 mod dev that we have it here now. Okay. So you can, yes, work with this folder name or you can rename it, it doesn't matter now. But I will use this original name as the I will keep it as the main folder. And as you can see, there's only one subfolder with the season of 2006 that has an all teams folder that has subfolders with the teams. That is a usual folder structure in rFactor 1. And this one has only one mass file. Sometimes you have more than one. It's very different, and yes, it's always the same scheme what you can use to convert them, but sometimes, as said, you have to use very complex folder structures here that you have to take care for, that you just convert them to in a good working way. I am a friend from having not so deep subfolder structures, so I will not use this season 2006 folder here. I will move all its content to the main folder so that it can delete it here. I'll do the same thing with the teams. I will put them all together, all files of the team subfolders, into one folder together. Normally that should be no problem, because normally all files should have different names. So you have to be a bit careful sometimes if that is the case, and that not two files in different folders have the same file name but different content. That will cause conflicts, of course. Okay. So I yes, search this main folder with this sign for all files and mark all files and move it to the all teams folder here. Now our subfolders should be empty. Yes, they are, so they can be deleted too. And I rename the folder to simply Teams. Yes, because we have only one mass file here, there probably is everything included what is needed for this car. And I like to work with one more folder only that I call maps. That includes the GMT, the fonts, the textures, yes, almost everything. When you look at the structure that, for example, Studio 397 uses, that is with assets subfolder and there the GMT separate in an own folder, the textures in an own folder. But yes, especially if you work with 3D SimEd, for example, and you have this split it, you have the textures in a different folder than the GMT, and you load or you import a GMT, it has no texture, so you have then to go to the material and select the textures from the other folder. That is, yes, unnecessary complicated, so I always put everything into the same folder. But in this case, as I said, I normally use the name maps, but in this case I will use maps rF1. Oh, no, doesn't matter. Okay, and so now the rFactor 1 files are in this folder with rF1. Oh, of course they are not yet, because I have to extract them first. Okay. Now that is a tool that, yes, I would recommend to buy. It's very useful for smaller things. You cannot model with it, but you can do a lot of things that make the things very, yeah, also much easier. So, and I think the most of you use that already. There you can go to Tools and Expand and use your rFactor mass. And now we go to the ModDev Vehicles FormulaIS and select that form 06 mass file here. Open it. And now we want to a folder where it shall be extracted, and so I select the maps underline rF1 folder now. Write files, yes. Overwrite, yes. Okay, now all files from the mass file should be in here. Yeah, now they are. Okay, now I also delete this file, and that has a special reason too, because in ModDev I always would recommend to use with loose files, to work with loose files only. Don't use a mixture of mass files that have files that are also extracted and loose files, because that always causes conflicts. If you have, for example, these files in a mass file too, and you edit one here, you have two files with the same name and different content, and that potentially causes conflicts, of course. So I always would recommend to use loose files here. The only exception that you can make, if you want, you can put all sound files into a mass file here and put it into the same folder. That works, that you don't have to use the old structure. By the way, I forgot the sounds. We want to have sounds too. So we go again to the rFactor 1 mod and sounds, and okay, there is no folder, as you can see, for FormulaIS. So we have to check the SFX file, as it's a sound file, what the sound folder is. This is this one here, in this case, FBMW engine. There it is, FBW engine. So we copy that here too and paste it into the moddev vehicle, moddev sounds folder. Oh, it's there already. Okay. I think I use it for another car. Well, I just say overwrite. Okay, now that you have the same sound folder here, like it was in the rFactor 1 structure, so the game should find them. One point, you normally have to convert also the sound files from stereo to mono. Yes, in most of the cases, not all rFactor 1 files are stereo, but rFactor 2 throws an error if they are not mono now. So you should convert them. Maybe we'll show that later too, to avoid these long error messages when you load the car in DevMode. But for now, let's continue with the car. Okay, now we have the all textures and GMT from the car here. And now, because the rFactor 1 GMT don't work for rFactor 2 anymore, we have to convert these in the first step. To do that, we select File, Import as Objects, go to the folder, and now we have to take care for two things, or better said, two parts of the car, because that have to have a specific pivot point. That is the steering wheel and the helmet of the driver. These two parts need to have a own specified pivot point. All others normally doesn't need that. But when you now, what normally is the way to convert is select all and open them and convert them, export them as rFactor 2 meshes. These pivot points for all of them get set to 0, 0, 0. So the pivot point for the steering wheel and the helmet get lost. To avoid that, we will check now which files that are. So we go to the gain file that generates the car in the game and search for the wheel. This is the steering wheel. Okay, this is form wheel. Okay, two meshes, one high poly and one low poly, I guess. And the helmet that also has an own instance. There it is. 3 helmet meshes. Okay. So again, we go to the folder with Control and A, select all, and unselect the 3 helmet meshes and the steering wheel. Here it is, form wheel. So now we have these 5 files excluded and open the rest. Why is there a helmet left? By the way, I will not make a clean video. I will show you also what can happen. So okay. Well, there probably is another helm that is not linked here. Yes, that is not used. It's another helmet. Okay, so we don't have to care. And then I click simply export rFactor 2, save rFactor 2 objects, go to my folders again and export them into the maps folder now, not into the source folder, because you don't want to overwrite them to the maps folder. No, it's export. Okay. Now all these meshes should be here. Okay, here they are. Yes, and to make it a bit quicker, I will only convert the high poly helmet and the high poly steering wheel, because it's only for this demonstration video. This time I import maps rf1, helmet high, open, and if you go to edit, to face starter attributes, you can see that it has a specified pivot point here, and that doesn't get lost when you convert it in this way. If you import and export, save rFactor 2 model, and again into the maps folder. Save, and the next is the steering wheel. That is this one. Yeah, also that has a specified pivot point here. Also to the maps folder. Okay. Now I sort it by type and select all other files that except of the GMT files here and move them to the maps folder too. So now we have only the original rFactor 1 files in the maps underline rf1 folder, so that you can convert the low poly steering wheel and the helmet later. Okay. As the next step, we have to tell the game which folder structure we use here. So we have to edit the GAN files that normally are 2 per car. It's the graphics GAN file that loads the game on track, and the spinner GAN file that loads it into the showroom. Open both of them, and you will see this structure here. This was used for rFactor 1, and we will modify that a little bit now. Because we have no mass file anymore here, we can use this line. This line should always be kept because it is a common or a main file that includes objects that are used for every car. So you should keep that as it is, and only add the search path entries now that we have in the dev mode. And as you can see, the main folder here is the vehicles, so we have to tell the game which subfolders we use. The first one is the FormulaIS. I always do it in that way that I keep this entry with only the vehicle deal and copy that and add the name of the main folder of the mod. Copy that. With a backslash. And add the name of the folder where the GMT are. And it's not necessary normally, but I will also add the Teams folder here. There can be more mass files that you should all extract into separate folders. You can give them any name that you want. You just have to ensure that all these folders are linked here, that the game can find all the files that shall be used for that car. Okay, one thing is left, because the new shaders and materials in rFactor 2 cannot be set properly in 3D Sim, for example. There was a web-based material editor released from Studio 397 that is very useful, because you can edit the materials directly on track. That is great, because you can do it in the sun, in the night. You can do it in every configuration that you want, but the materials get used as JSON files then when you save the settings from the web-based material editor. So you have to add another line here now, and these are the search paths, and this you need a folder for the JSON files, and that is not named search path, it's named material path. And I would simply use the subfolder material or materials for that. and add that folder here too. Okay. Now I have edited the graphics gain file. I will copy this now, these new entries, and paste that into the spinner gain 2. I leave only the CMaps mass file also here. And yes, here you can see the reflect plane. This is for the reflection of the car in the showroom floor, on the showroom floor. Okay, save here. Here. Okay. Yeah, now we normally should be able to load the car in the game already. Let's try it out. Okay, the teams all seem to be there. Let's check if it loads in the showroom. Oh yes, there it is. Okay, that works already. Upgrades any works too. Okay, now we try to go on track, which will not work because we have no tires defined yet, but I would want to just see what happens. Because sometimes are things missing here that the car will not. There it is already. I copy that message. Driver DDS. Okay. Driver DDS. Okay, here you can see the error messages. You get one for every sound file that is stereo. Some files cannot be found. Okay. Yes, as you can see, if such files are missing, a texture for example, the car doesn't load. You see something like this here. That is not really a car. That is a temp car that rFactor 2 uses. Yes, but you can drive also that car, and I will do that now. And as you can see, the DevMode crashes immediately. So, but yes, that is because of the missing TGM files that are necessary to be able to drive a car in rFactor 2 now. But first I want to quickly convert the sound files to mono. There are different ways to do that. In the forum you can also find yes, a batch file from the user Houndetal that is very handy. And as said, there are different methods. I use Audacity to do that. Simply load all, mark all, and say stereo to mono, and then I put them back into the folder. I simply use signed 60-bit PCM. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. No, it's correct. And export. And of course, WAV format. Okay. So we should get rid of most of the error messages. Now the rFactor driver DDS is missing. I will use a quick method for this video. What was the name? rFactor driver DDS. Okay. Hopefully this is enough. You can also load the car in 3D ZIMAT, but sometimes, from my experience, not all missing textures get shown there. So I use the sometimes longer way here. I just want to get it loading on track properly, still without being able to drive it. Okay, that is a problem from the track. This is a missing audio file for the track. Oh, I'm an idiot. That was the wrong car. I want to load this car. Okay. Now we have the car in the game, at least, but we still cannot drive. I again click race, and the game crashes. But okay, so far so good. Now, yes, there are several methods that you can use now. You can use the official physics spreadsheet from Michael Border. That is, yes, that what also the Studio 397 developers use, I guess. Or you can use, yes, you can edit it by hand, manually, the files, or you can use some of my tools to make a quick conversion from the necessary files that, yes, that need to have more entries to add the tire files, the TGM files. That is mainly the TBC file that defines the tires in rFactor 1 and also for the artificial intelligence, for the AI in rFactor 2. And yes, if you want to use my tools, I will put a link into that, uh, to the tools into the description later. They look like this. Oh, sorry. That is the German language. Okay, now English. You can, and I normally use this tool. You can use this tool that yes, converts some files into a new HDV. This is the main physics file, and a flex chassis gets generated. The TBC gets edited, and the TGM files get added, so that you yes can convert all necessary things into one procedure. You can also, for example, use you go down to the tire section here. There are 3 tools to change tire sizes, and you can it's of course German too. If you choose the last tool, you can upload the TBC file of the rFactor 1 TBC file that we still have in the modif. And you can see that will list all compounds that TBC file has, and you have to add a TGM file in each slot that has a red red entry here, that the TGM file is not there, it's not entered or already. Yes, you can click here to refresh it. Then you can select tires here from tires from Easy or Studio 397. And because I use the FormulaIS, the tires are already there, because the FEasyAdd 2012 is the old FormulaIS. So you can select the tires here and attach them here to the different compounds. But yes, for this video I want to use the red button tool here. That also unfortunately has a limitation, because in the past it was not really possible to directly convert solid axles that were used in some cases in rFactor 2 for cars that did have it. And this conversion tool is made for a double wishbone structure. That is also what the spreadsheet did use. And yes, I've added a routine in this tool that converts a solid axle into double wishbone in some cases. In some cases it won't work. It maybe will put out all files, but when you load them in the DevMode, it will crash, because the rear axle cannot handle the forces and crashes. But let's see what happens here, because the FormulaIS Car has a double wishbone suspension on all four wheels, so it should work without any problem. Before I do that, I go back to the folder and make a copy of the tires file and also of the HDV file of the original to keep them as a backup. And yeah, as said, for this video, I will reduce the amount of compounds to 1. It's just to demonstrate what has to be done, so I will delete all these other compounds. That are not necessary for this video. It's enough when I show you what you have to do with one compound. Okay, then I open this tool. Oh, okay. Also that, of course, in German. Wait a moment, please. Okay, so now this tool leads you through the whole process. So we have to start with uploading the TBC file. If you have TGM files already, you can upload them here too. But in this case we don't have some, so we will upload the TBC file only. And it's the one from the moddev, of course, not the copy, the reduced TBC file. So as written, refresh one time. Now you can see no tires are there. And so I select the tires from the FEZR R, it's 2012, and use this super soft. This with a 245 width. I use it as a front tire, and with a 325 width super soft as a rear tire. Now you can see that these two tires are linked now here, and as the button tells you, all entries are filled. To proceed, click this button now. Yeah, that is a in between step that I sometimes use if there is very much what has to be calculated in the background to have a shorter time that the script runs, to not get being stopped from the host here. Okay, now we upload the HEV file. If you want, you can change some things here that are the original values that the car has. As I have written here, I would always suggest to use less than this steer lock here, but for the video I leave it as it is. I have also a tool with that you can change that later, or you can also do it here already. Sometimes that was much too much for some cars, but I leave it as it is now, just to continue the procedure. So now we have to upload the PM file. Yeah, now again in between step that the chassis ini file can be generated. That's also a massive amount of calculations in the background. And as the last step, the HGV file gets generated. Now you have, yes, you can download each file as a single file or the zip archive. I select the zip archive. There's my configuration. My browser configuration is in that way that it opens the 7Z zip program, and so I will extract all files into the main folder of the car, into this, the FormulaIS folder. And as you can see, you get an edited HGV file and an edited tires TBC. That is why I made the copies, to avoid that they get overwritten the original files. It will of course overwrite these. Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, now we have the modified files here. Here are the tire files, the tools. I've made it in that way that I gave the tire names the prefix mod underline to mark that are modified files. You can change their file names, but if you do that, you also have to change their names here accordingly in the TBC file. If you don't do that, the game crashes again, because these files that are linked here cannot be found anymore. So if you rename them, rename the name also in the TBC file. Okay, normally the car should be drivable now. Let's see what we get. I will go into the showroom again. Okay, it's still there. Okay, that are only audio files that are missing. Okay. Oh, much too much force feedback. Oh. I have a G920 as a steering wheel, and with the default build in DevMode, I have to lower the force feedback multiplier to this to get a normal force feedback. Yeah, okay, the car loads and drives. That is what I wanted to show. I know there are a lot of other things that can happen while you try to convert a car, but it is impossible to cover them all in a video. Or this would be a video that would last 3 hours in a row. That cannot be done. But I hope it helps you, and yes, if not, you can contact me in the Studio 397 forum under the name rEDAPG. Sorry, REDAPG. And yes, my name is Chris, and you can contact me there, and I will try to help if I can. Thank you for watching this.